p.m. So I'm not so sure, maybe the minister just can explain, I'm not so sure if there's explicit closure of all the lumos. Maybe when he gets here, he can explain, but that is our understanding as a committee. That's the open market. That's our understanding. Now, in terms of the change in the report, for example, our report, what we have here, we have the final report. I'm not going to assume anything. We don't want to believe that when we come here, it will be extended. So essentially, this is our final report. Because we knew we had a time frame on which we have to report. That was 45 days. And we knew by Monday that state of emergency, 45 days will also elapse. And we have to bring a report. And that's why we wrote the final report. So if our mandate is extended, perhaps we can find another name for the one that is actually coming. But at this stage, we thought there's no other name that we could have used under the circumstances that this is going to come to an end. That's why we decided to use the final report on this one here. Now, the one area the member for Brikama did mention about whether we have consulted with the regular people. Well, the member was there when we came to the market. In fact, we stand in the middle of the market. We were talking to the market committees. In fact, people were even giving us suggestions. The member for Brikama North himself, on several occasions, and I want to thank him for that, actually has called. Yeah.
Honorable member, I did not say whether you consulted those people. I said I recall the suggestion they made regarding relocation, if possible, in order to avoid the overcrowding. Those who are selling, for example, vegetables can be relocated to another places so that there will be decongestion. This particular suggestion was made at the fish market. Please.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much, member for Brikama North. Essentially, we had a lot of recommendations from the people. In fact, when we mentioned that, how do they feel about the idea of decongesting the market, taking everybody out without a stall or a canteen in the market to an open place for them to walk? In fact, they said, one mentioned, Abemol Makwelele. That's exactly one of them what they said. In fact, that's the reason why we put that in our recommendations, that if the area councils or the local government authorities can decongest the markets and take them to an open place, then that could actually help to ensure that these regulations are actually enforced properly. Now, in terms of the drivers, we did actually make consultations. If you look at the report, when we had our first meeting, the drivers union or the transport union, this guy, I remember his name, Omar Sisi, he was there. We met with him. Then we also met with another guy called, Kaba? Kaba was about the labor. He was also there. And Kaba didn't say anything because of time, but Omar Sisi actually asked that the pump prices be reduced. He did mention that. In fact, I worked on a program with him on a TV, same thing, that he suggested that if the drivers are asked to reduce the prices or the number of passengers in their vehicles, that must be matched equally with the reduction in the pump price. And I think the government responded a few weeks ago from 50-something to 40-something. I think the government actually has responded. But yet still, they're saying that they need to do more at the level of the pump price. But the Minister of Finance can help to see what best they can do to help the drivers to prevent overcharging. Now, in terms of the food package, there were a lot of questions about the food package again. Now, I did also mention yesterday that we were supposed to meet with NDMA to enlighten us about the distribution, the modalities, etc. As a committee, we were previewed a document, but to bring NDMA to us so that we can discuss and ask questions, we didn't do that, and that's the reason why we decided not to make this an appendix. But we have information about the food, how it's going to be rationalized, how it's going to be shared, etc., etc. If you permit me, Honorable, I can say it, but as a committee, we have not met NDMA. But we are privy to documents that show exactly who is going to get what, where is each constituency actually you will see what you're going to have. We have the document. But because of the fact that we have not met them, in a setting, that's why we didn't put that in as a document. So
I stand to be corrected, but I think the only thing we can do is just to take it by way of information. I don't confirm. Just by way of information, because since it's not part of your record,
Yeah.
and honorable members wouldn't have had the opportunity to go through it. So I don't think we can take it as part, no, as part of the records. No, we cannot.
Speaker,
Let's hear.
point of observation. I think the information will be very vital for the National Assembly members if it can be photocopied and distributed to the members for reference.
Said by way of information now, as of now, because it's not been circulated, it's not part of their records, but it's vital information, so I think we can share it. Yes, honorable member for Serekunda.
You know, Honorable Speaker, all documents must come from proper source. This is coming from him, and it's not part of their report. I think he has made a notice that the document exists. Eventually, NA should really submit this document to the Parliament so that it can be circulated.
I'm not very comfortable with that, really. Since it's not part of the records, I would just want it to be by way of information. Let's just listen to it, and then we'll do the proper thing. Thank you.
All right, so I can leave the document. Yeah, actually, it's just by way of information, really. But then probably we can get, really what they say is like a household of 4 people or more, you'll get 25 kilos of rice, 5 liters of oil, and 25 kilos of sugar. And a household of 5 to 10 people, you get 50 kilograms of rice, 10 liters of oil, and 50 kilograms of sugar. And a household of 11 to 15 people, you get 75 kilos of rice, 15 liters of oil, and 75 kilos of sugar. And any household that is 16 people and above, they'll get 100 kilos of rice, 20 liters of oil, and 100 kilos of sugar. That's how they intend to do it. Now, in terms of constituencies, you know, it's a lot of information, so I don't know if that will be necessary anyway. But for the sake of my good neighbor that asked for it, for Sami, I'll just mention Sami only, you are supposed to get 3,573 bags of 50 kilogram rice, 3,573 for Sami constituency. Then for oil, you are supposed to get 2,293 10-liter oils for the district, and sugar, 3,573 bags of 50 kilograms sugar. That's what you're supposed to get in your district. And I'll just continue from there.
I'm just consulting, but one thing that also we can think of, you can just indicate without prejudice.
Yes.
And just circulate it.
Circulate, okay, that's fine. I think
But let it be boldly written without prejudice.
That's a good
Thank
idea.
you.
All right. Let's see here also if I'm not missing anything here. All right. Now, also there was a question like we needed to explain if these were the only monies that the government received, which is the ministry 500 million and the 700 million. As far as we are concerned, like the vice chair said, we've made a request to get some of this information, but we are yet to get it. In fact, the procurement from the Minister of Health, we were told during the time when we made the request that the procurement was not actually 100% ready. They were just finalizing here and there, and yesterday they were able to send me some information late in the evening, so I cannot share that right now, but maybe after a while, when we have the official document, we can print it and give to everybody so that you see exactly from the $12 million, what the ministry intends to buy. We'll make that available to everybody. Now, now in terms of, that's fine. So I think the view of the citizens. I think I did explain that, the view of the citizens, because again, when you talk to market committees, for example, when you go to market issues, you talk to the market committees, or wherever we go, in fact, people talk to us about certain issues. So I think, yes, we did, but we don't have like a sample. Like we've spoke to like 300 people in the Gambia or whatever it is, but we just assume that the people we are talking to at the markets or other venues that we visited, they are all part of us, and they've given us really a gist of really what they think. I think this is okay. Now, in terms of evaluation, somebody did mention that we should have evaluated each of the regulations. Now, in fact, that's exactly what we wanted to do, but we changed later on. Because what happened is, if you look at the recommendations, it has touched on certain regulations. For example, if you go to page 5, for example, on the close and the restriction on the non-essential, you know, it was very clear. We made a recommendation about that. So what that means is the rest is okay with us, but that particular aspect needs to be looked at. Now, if you go to we are asking also for additional regulations. If you look at the recommendations from the Minister of Justice, on the, if I remember, that's going to be on page 34, we are asking the minister to bring in additional regulations to help. So that means is the regulations we currently have may not be enough based on the committee's recommendations, and we are asking them to make a regulation to make an offense for anybody who enters the country and refuses to be quarantined, and we want them to take or to bear the cost of the quarantine. So these are the additional regulations we said the minister need to come. Now, if you go on page 36 as well, on page 36, although the fish meat factories claim to have scaled down their production, so we don't have any evidence for that. So what we are saying is like we want the fish meat factories to be temporarily shut down. That is not covered in any of the regulations. So that means we are actually asking for additional regulations from the Minister of Justice, and maybe when he comes, he can dilate on more of those areas. Now, the last thing I have here, Honorable Speaker, is about the RCF, which is a Rapid Credit Facility. With this one, you know, with membership of IMF, you have a quota contribution. And 25% of that quota actually is about your reserve currency, and 75% is of your local currency. But the quotas actually vary. So it's not like every country you have to pay every year. The payments you make may be from 5 years to 10 years. But the money that you are getting from IMF, this one we are getting, is our own contribution. Essentially, you can call it an isusu. Each country actually had a quota that they contributed. And to help those countries to be able to fix their balance of payment problems or balance of payment deficits, they make certain things available to them. However, they cannot give it directly to the Gambia government, but normally they use an instrument through the central bank. And that's the reason why the minister, from the explanation, they came straight to the central bank. They have the MOU, which I have actually added to one of the documents, the MOU between the Central Bank of the Gambia and the Gambia government or the Minister of Finance about that money that came from the IMF. But nonetheless, I am of the view that he still needs to come. But let's remember one thing, in the budget, when you look at the budget, actually there's an approval in the budget for domestic borrowing, and there was approval in the budget for external borrowing. The external borrowing was about 4.something billion that we approved in the budget, and the domestic borrowing was about 2.something billion. So essentially, we have approved something for external borrowing in the budget and for domestic borrowing in the budget already. But yet still, I think he needs to come and finally formalize it just to ensure that it passes through the normal process that we actually have. Honorable Speaker, that's all what I have for now. I don't know if I've missed anything. Somebody can point that out for me. But as far as I'm concerned, I think I've covered all the questions that were posed to me, except if I'm missing something.
I think we have debated exhaustively, and we've been here since yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to take a second round, it means that we're going to be here till Monday.
There's no second round.
So please let us restrict.
Yes,
you know,
he asked whether he missed.
Justice, can I land? 2 microphones cannot be on at the same time. Either you won't hear me. So let us just go to the point. If you need further clarification, just be very precise and concise to the point. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I did indicate in my presentation that the committee did meet with the Ministry of Tourism and the tourism associations, and their views were highlighted. But unfortunately, I did not see where in the recommendations their issues were addressed in order for the industry to be bailed out from the predicament.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. If you look on page 35, in our recommendations under the Minister of Finance, if I'm not mistaken, yes, on the Minister of Finance, on number 9, the government to engage the state-owned enterprises, local government authorities, as well as the private sector, especially tourism, to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on their businesses. This will allow continuity of the essential services provided by these institutions. So I think that should be covered under that one.
Madam Speaker, well, that's a different section. I refer him to the section on the recommendation, to be very specific. Yeah. No, you said page 25.
I don't want to open the dialogue, but I think it's a report. Recommendations were made at the tail end, but it doesn't mean that we will not extract the recommendations made during the course of in the report itself. So I think we can, let's proceed, please. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I take the opportunity once more to thank everybody for their contribution. We've been here since yesterday for this very important report. And I would now put the question.
Motion before you put the question.
Sorry?
Motion
member
before.
for Wool, no. I'll take Woolly East. You want something? Yes, I said I will take your point. Can I hear you? Thank you.
Now, I was the mover of the motion. I mentioned the diaspora, because they are also Gambians. You've not said anything about that. You remember yesterday I was saying that. But in your response.
Oh, there was no response on your issue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Now, with the issue of diaspora, I did have a call from somebody in Ghana that he's stuck in that country, that he couldn't come back to Gambia. But the issue was being handled by the Foreign Affairs. For example, what's happening in China, for example, and some other areas. Affairs. So we thought it may not be necessary for us to call the Foreign Affairs to ask information about those things, because that was already been handled by the Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you.
I think not only Foreign Affairs, but the human rights. Yeah. And that record has been adopted. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah.
Yes, I noted something down on my notes, but I forgot to say it. And that is the support that we have from our support staff that were with us throughout the tour. Not only they were gallants, but I was really very comfortable working with them. And in fact, not only they ensured that all the information is recorded, but they even ensured that our security. I do support it. They know what I mean. They ensured that we were safe anywhere we go to. So I want to also say thank you to the Office of the Clerk for giving us the best people in this Parliament to support us throughout our work. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Serekunda.
Honourable Speaker, I would want to make a motion on the Standing Order 53A, if you allow, before you put the question. It reads that the following motion may be made without notice. A motion by way of amendment to a question already proposed by the Speaker. I would want to make a motion as soon as you propose this question of adopting the report, if you would allow me.
You're preempting me.
Need to be more concrete.
Well,
I think the idea.
asked my question yet. I've not posed any question yet.
Yes. I'm just making notification.
Provision.
Ultimately, what I'll be recommending, Honorable Speaker, the motion I'll be making is for us to accept the report minus the recommendation and the resolutions. But once you put the question, I'll make the motion and then give the reasons.
The question formally then, and then you can go ahead with your motion. As I said earlier, I wish to thank everybody and put the question, be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the report of the Special Select Committee of the National Assembly on the implementation of the state of public emergency. Now you can come up with your motion by virtue of this first section.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would want to make this motion by way of standing order 53A, that a motion by way of an amendment to a question already proposed by the Speaker. You proposed the question, but Honorable Speaker, I would want to make the motion that we adopt this report without adopting the recommendation and the resolutions. Honorable Speaker, the recommendations touches on justice, on security, on finance, on local government, on health, on trade, fisheries. These are all very broad areas covered by existing committees. And to assist the committee itself from deepening the recommendations and broadening the information base, I would further make the motion that we invoke Standing Order 106, which will require the committee to work with the various committees like human rights and constitutional matters in the area of justice, with defense and security in the area of security, with finance and public accounts in the area, with the respective committees, so that in each area they work concurrently to build up the recommendations for those particular areas. Honorable Speaker, it is also important to suspend the resolution, because they've made it a resolution by the committee, and the committee is actually reporting to the plenary, and it's only the plenary that has authority to make the final resolution. And in order not to complicate matters in terms of the consideration for the motion that the minister is going to make, we would be accepting the number of days proposed by our committee. So by standing down on that, we'll be preparing ourselves for the next session. So I would move, Honorable Speaker, that we actually accept the report with all the amendments that they would wish to make, but then not accept the recommendations and the resolution. Thank you.
We just take a second. Yeah, a second on the specific motion. Thank you. Fonyi Jarol. Sorry.
Yes, I rise to second the motion.
Motion has been moved and seconded that we adopt the report of the Special Select Committee, excluding the recommendations. and the resolutions and the recommendations. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. So now the question would read, be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the report of the Special Select Committee of the National Assembly on the implementation of the state of public emergency, excluding the resolutions and recommendations made therein. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. So I think that would just make the next motion straightforward so that we don't need to have any conflict. Thank you. The ayes have it. Thank you. Can we proceed?